Welcome back to Channel Water. Today we're going to talk about what exists outside of time and space. We know that we are somewhere on this rock. This rock is in space, and then there's outer space. We know that we can travel infinitely inwards and outwards. So today's video is going to be very philosophical and conceptual, trying to understand the boundaries and where are we, what is outside, what is inside, and how do we even define those things, if possible. So fair warning, this video is going to be very conceptual and quite out there. For me personally, this is what I really enjoy thinking about and working on. If you ask me what do I do for fun, this is the kind of things I do for fun, just thinking about these ideas. So I hope you enjoy it too. Let's start with trying to imagine two options. One of them is that we can just travel infinitely in space. And that's hard to grasp, that idea that you can just go forever. You can fly out to space forever, and there will be no end. But also it's hard to imagine the other way around. Finding an end, reaching to a certain boundary. And then what would be beyond that boundary? Right, so two options, and both of them are not easy, whether you're traveling forever, and there's no such thing as an end, there's no boundaries, there's no limits. And the other option, there is a limit, there is a boundary, but then what would be beyond that? Because we are in space, right? So space is something in that way. What exists beyond space? And here I'll give you a little hint into where we're going. If you reach the end of space, then outside of space there would be something else, right? What would be the other option of something that is different from space? In order to think about that and to try and understand that, the process is actually not that intuitive, because what I will ask you to do is not think about it. Actually not take actions toward that place. Because if you try to think about it, if you try to understand it, then you make a mistake. Because we are talking about a place that has nothing of what we know of here. It has to be completely different than what we know of here, the place we're in, which has space, thought, ideas, materials. All those things will not exist in a place that is outside of here. Otherwise, it will just be another space, right? You'll reach, it's like you reach to the end of a room, there's a door, you open the door, there's another room. But what if beyond that door, there isn't another room? There isn't anything that you know of that belongs to here. Because even if you think that there is a universe and another universe and a parallel, I'm talking about the moment where you reach the end of that journey. When there is something that is not, and anything that you know of that is here. Because otherwise you didn't reach the end of it. You didn't reach the place where that space ends and something completely else begins, or maybe doesn't begin at all. So as long as you see this discussion and trying to solve this problem as a physical problem, you will not reach the conclusions and answers of what exists outside of time and space. Because that question is actually not physical. That question is beyond the world of physics and the world we know here. That question can only be answered when there is no physics at all. It's a place where you can't call it a place. And what exists outside of space is basically no space. It's the complete absence of everything you know, it is the absolute nothing. But even not thing is already within the category of something. So it is the complete, absolute stillness, without a thought, without an idea, no concept, no matter, no space. And now we can try to start and understand or more feel the edges of our existence. You can start to see that the edges of our existence is no existence, right? On the other side of it, what you'll find is no existence, no thought, no being. And that place, that edge, is actually much closer than you think. Because again, it's not a physical problem. You don't need to travel forever to get there. You actually need to stop traveling, stop thinking, stop being to get there. So the boundaries of our existence are much closer than you think. And again, they're not physical. Because within the physical world, as long as you travel towards what you think you will find something. As long as you travel, there will be space. Your travel is what creates that space. But it's really the beauty of it is that it's near, both outside and inside, to both directions. You can find that place very quickly and very close by. And that's the beauty of it, that again, it's not a physical issue. It's not a physical place you're going to. The space that we are in, that equation of space-time, can expand infinitely to any direction. And it will expand to wherever you go. You are a time traveler. Your movement within space over time. That is the time travel. We all constantly move forward, movement within time. So the time is always measuring your movement in space. That space is created around your movement. So your very action of thinking, wanting, creates in that moment the space, the matter, the time in which all of that is happening. And also, once you understand that equation, you will realize that there's no such thing as traveling back in time. Time is a measurement of your movement forward, which is the only movement you can take. And we are already traveling forward in time, moving forward in time, as far as time travelers. And so you can't travel over that. You can only move faster or slower within that equation. But you can't move backwards or a different direction. But that's just a side note about our relationship with time travel. What's important to understand here and now is that any action you take creates space, matter, time, the whole universe around it. So movement plus time in no space creates space. Right? So your origin is in a place of complete and absolute no space, nothing. There is absolutely no existence. It's the zero. And once you start moving towards an idea, a concept, takes you forward towards a goal, in that moment there's movement, there's physics, there's time, a space is created. That's how that all comes into being. So any action you take, any thought you have, coming out of the no space, coming out of the beginning, it's just a zero. We are in the complete and absolute nothingness, no existence, a zero. And then, as a conscious being, a thought emerges, an idea, a concept, that creates a movement towards that goal, towards that desire. That movement happens over time and then creates physics and a physical space. So from that no space, no time, nothing, comes out, movement, time, space, that all of that is happening in, right? So that whole, imagine it as a bubble, that in that all of that is happening, that is surrounded with no space, right? But that no space is not something you can think about or understand. It's only something that you can become by not thinking, not understanding, not being, no time, no movement, no space. Even the ideas of in and out, in space, outer space, all those ideas of boundaries, they all exist within the physical world. All of those concepts are of space, of physics. But once you're outside of it, they don't exist. It is just no space. And I know it's so conceptual and philosophical, but it's also very simple, because you're not entering or exiting something. It's more of a becoming, right? It's that wanting to be, but it's that becoming, meaning it's a being coming, a movement, right? It's a movement towards becoming something. But that becoming is from absolute, no being, no movement. So that is the place of what we could see as some kind of a creation or creative process from something out of nothing. But this is really the ultimate something out of nothing. Because like I said, even nothing, something, not a thing, something is within the world of things. It's within this physical world. When you're in no space, you can't even perceive the no thing. There is absolutely no perception of anything at all. Especially in the human structure, in the human story, we have those concepts of life and death, beginning and end. And even that is something that exists as an illusion in this physical world, as really there's only a flow of life through matter. There's this constant movement within, like all of that exists. We're not bringing something out of nothing. Even when we bring children, plants, life into the world, that life flows within. We're not making something out of nothing. It's just a constant flow within our physical world. So the most complex question we can ask in life actually has no answer. And I don't mean that it doesn't have an answer within reach that we can find and understand. What I mean is that the answer is absolute nothing. The answer itself is a place of no existence, of no space. And that's really interesting to try and perceive that and try to work with that as an answer, right? Because usually we want something more tangible. But when you have absolute nothing, you also have everything, right? It's the potential of being every possible thing. And I think we can see that in the physical world with light and water. Both of them are clear beings. Basically, light is clear, water is clear, but they both have the capacity and the potential to be everything. As light opens up to a full spectrum of all the possible colors and light waves, and water has the possibility to become any possible living being, from bacteria, plants, animal, people. So that spectrum exists. There's the possibility of infinite architecture, structures, ideas, concepts, life within something that is actually completely invisible, nothing. And here we can see how light and water are those actors within the physical world that translate between the two. The absolute nothing that can become anything. So even when we talk about no space, nothingness, we're talking about something that's very compact, that has so much in it, within that nothingness, that has so much potential and possibility. It's that moment before, even if it's a tiny fracture in time before any existence. It's like when we think about the Big Bang, or the concept of that one split second before everything happened, right? All it takes is a spark of thought, an idea, and a whole universe is created, space, time, and everything you know. So it's really interesting to bring yourself back to that moment. It has so much power in it. It has so much from being absolutely nothing at all. And that's where it's exciting to try and feel that yourself. And even if you gain that feeling for a fracture of a moment, within that fracture of a moment, an entire lifetime exists. Every possible thing you can imagine exists within that little fracture. If we try and come back more to the physical world that we are in, we can start to look at it from a different point of view now and see that here there is a movement that came from the absolute nothing that can be everything. So from no space into space, from no thing into something, from no order, it has no need for any order over there, into order over here. Because one of the things or at least I think about a lot, is why is there so much order within the material world? All the laws of physics that we have, and everything we find in the building blocks of life, which is so well designed in a way to achieve certain purposes. So it's really interesting to think about all the different layers of existence, all the different layers of consciousness, where coming from no space into just a concept, an idea and thought, which is not yet matter, it hasn't yet materialized. So in that space you are completely free form, and you have complete freedom of expression. And then moving into the material world, where there is a lot of limitation, the expression is far more limited by matter. We still have our free form thought to some degree, until you hit language, because language is of matter. Language itself is a limitation between the free form thought, which could be three-dimensional, geometrical, visual, into words and ideas that are very two-dimensional. They're almost designed, language is designed for the material world, to basically bridge between the two. So now this is where we are, in the limited material world, with limited language, limited bodies, and with that we're trying to talk about ideas that are limitless. And that's why it's very hard, and it becomes very conceptual and philosophical. And also it's more something that if you're interested in, you can dive into, but it's not something that is necessary for everyone to understand, know, and probably the majority of people would stay away from it, because it's hard. It's almost like breaking your brain in a way, of trying to perceive the things that you're not designed to perceive, because we're designed to operate within this material world and achieve a certain function here. It's an interesting way to look at it, as almost an addiction for consciousness to be feeling and experiencing in the material world, at the same time while building itself a home and structures in the material world, which is like plants, animal, people, all vessels of consciousness are architecture and homes for consciousness in this material world. And that happens through experience, sensing, feeling. And that is something that, just like we cannot perceive what it's like just to be pure consciousness or be complete, absolute nothing. In the same way, from over there, what you would like is to have the full experience, right? So you come from a place of no space, no experience, no being, into experiencing as much as you can within this space, within this world. So it's an interesting dance between the two, which we get to experience all of them in our cycle of life as we come in and out of these bodies. So we go from being just pure consciousness back to the flow of the material world, back out there. And like I said, that's the flow of life within this physical world, material world. And then that world is surrounded with no space, no world. So wherever the experiences go, it creates space around it. But there's an interesting feeling to me, which feels much better than the idea of an infinite space that goes infinitely nowhere forever. There's almost a feeling more of a hug, a cocoon, a place that is contained. And it's contained by the thing that has become this universe, this space. It feels closer, smaller, and something that can be more personal, felt more than just I'm a speck of dust in this infinite universe, and we have no concept of where it's going, what it's doing, where it came from, or why. It's easier to understand the why when you understand that you're coming from the complete nothingness into something. That this is a positive thing, a positive experience, an experience that we want, created, that we actually want to have this experience and not forced into it, that it's mine and not that I don't belong to it. So there's a lot of personal feelings that gets mixed within those understandings. Especially, it can be beneficial for people that feel that life is not good, is negative, they don't belong, forced into it, they want out of it. We came from outside, inside. We came from a place of not being into being. So it's important to embrace that and be fully present to that. And the way to do that is actually by not thinking, not being, not trying to just travel to the edge of space to find something where it's right here next to you, if you just are able to be still. For me, that's where the meditation or observation, being able to look at our thoughts and separate from them, to be able to reach that moment of stillness, that's where there's value to that. That's the place where we can actually just be back to that original state, and really just for a fracture of moment. But it helps us feel that full spectrum of no space, moving towards no thing, moving towards something. It's the complete zero becoming the I, and then the I am, which is already a movement towards I am something. And sometimes in life we get so carried away within that addiction, within that experience, that we almost lose control a little bit, lose ground, and we don't feel good about those movements we're in. And it's good to be able to just take that step back and be back with the I, just reaching back to the I and restarting your own journey to what the I am is, and then what is the movement towards what I am becoming or what I am doing within this material world. So if you want to feel that sensation of no space, if you are able to stop feeling your environment, your thoughts, your desires, your senses, if you can just stop for 1 second and not even think about the fact that you're thinking or not thinking, or that's the thing about the mind, it will trick you back into thought constantly. It's a really helpful tool to be able to operate more from the place of your gut feeling, your original self, which is beyond words. It's before words. It's before this material world. And words in our head has a very specific way about them that belongs to this material world. It actually is not your origin, your true movement from before, from within. So it's a really interesting space, or to say no space, to be in, of finding that moment of almost birth from nothing into something, your personal one, your personal becoming into this world. So like I said, today's video is very conceptual, philosophical. It's more of a mind game and an exercise that maybe you can take and do and find some comfort in it, or be able to answer some of your questions about what exists outside of time and space, or where are we, what are the limits. And I think sometimes knowing those questions, being able to answer them, and especially with this way of becoming absolutely nothing in order to see something, is a beneficial way in general of thinking about issues in life, because most of the time we overthink it. A lot of times we pay too much attention towards something that distracts us from seeing what it really is, or what is the right thing to do, or how to operate. But for me, it was pure joy to be able to conceptualize no space, to understand that outside of space, the only thing that could be that is different is no space. And then that opened the door into completely, for a moment, letting go of everything that our space has and experiencing that no space, that moment of before. Today I just wanted to share with you some of the concepts that sometimes we dive into here, and it's really just for fun and for more of a philosophical discussion. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.